Well, hi everyone. I'm John Retlin with a multi-movie review of 5 films that I saw recently on Hulu and Netflix. 2 from 2017, 3 from 2019. How in the world was 2017 3 years ago? Life is getting away from us. We are getting so goddamn old. So let's talk about 5 movies, and I'm going to human centipede them together with some spoilers. I'm not going to spoil every single thing because these are going to be quick reviews, but we're also going to start off at the really, really good and then slide down to shovelware territory. If you don't know what shovelware is, it's a term that's applied to some video games, but also some movies. Like video games that are designed quickly and just shoved out there for a few bucks just to make a quick buck and everything, and just to get saps to buy them. Or in the case of Netflix and Hulu, they buy these cheapy horror movies and get the rights to them and just figure, okay, they'll get clicks and everything. And who knows, maybe some of them could actually be good because there have been some Netflix originals and some other ones that actually aren't that bad. But I want to also make mention that I've done multi-movie reviews before, and I'm going to go back and I'm going to do timestamp work on those. So please be patient with that. I'm also going to include timestamps in this. So with 5 movies, though, you got to have some notes. So let's jump right on into it, and we're going to talk about The Nightingale, directed by Jennifer Kent, who directed The Babadook. Fucking hell, this movie. I had heard that this movie was hard to watch, that it was really, really not drawn out in a bad way, though there were some criticisms I had of the later acts. But this movie was apparently so hard to watch because of how gritty and how realistic it was. And let me tell you, this movie, if you do not like certain scenes, like assault scenes, don't watch this movie. I mean, this movie is going to be difficult for people to watch anyway. It takes place in 1825. And it has a woman named Claire, who's an Irish convict, played by, and I'm going to try this name as best I can, Aislinn Franciosi, who's very, very good in this. And you also had Sam Clafton, I'm sorry if I got that wrong, and Bekali Kanabar. He was really, really good as an Aboriginal guide that went along with Claire after she suffered, some hardships, like her husband and baby getting killed and her being assaulted, and she's going out for revenge against the men that did this to her. And it is really, really gritty and tough and everything, and as tough as Claire is, she is still somebody that has suffered a lot of loss, and is somebody that is out for revenge, but she questions herself, like, is she really doing the right thing? And the Aboriginal guide, Billy, there's some pretty good, acting and chemistry between them. They actually do some pretty good stuff, and the acting is really, really top notch. And you got the whole thing of a lot of racism in the Tasmanian wilderness, as the Brits and Irish and people take over the indigenous people. And oh boy, there's a lot of shit to this movie that is really difficult to watch. But boy, this movie is really goddamn good. I do have some complaints as it goes on. It feels like some scenes are a little too drawn out, that this could have been cut down to, just under 2 hours. But Jennifer Kent, who was terrific when she directed The Babadook, really knows what she's doing here. The Nightingale is goddamn good. And there's a lot of really good stuff with Claire questioning what she does. Her and Billy finding some common ground and everything. And just a lot of violence and a lot of, brutal stuff with it. Now, I mean, have there been more brutal movies out there? Absolutely. Are there movies that are harder to watch? Yes. But this one had visceral imagery and a lot of realism behind it. And just, yeah, it's not perfect. I do agree there. I don't know if this movie is quite as good as everybody else's is, but movies are subjective. This was really goddamn good, though, and would have probably just been out of my top 10 had I seen it in 2019, because this was released in the late summer of 2019. So The Nightingale definitely gets a recommendation, but again, if you don't like assault scenes, or if there are certain subject matters that bother you, and by the way, if you like assault scenes, you might want to get yourself checked. This movie, however, has some scenes that are hard to stomach, but it is really damn good, and just the outdoor scenes, the wilderness, the cinematography, everything is really good about this movie. It's not perfect, but it's goddamn good. And then we go to It Comes at Night. They came out in 2017 and was brought to us from Trey Edward Schultz, who later brought us Waves, my favorite movie of 2019. So I was excited to see that. I was like, okay, cool. It even has Kelvin Harrison Jr., easy for me to say, who was in Waves. He is in this movie, and it's about a family that's trying to survive against an unseen force that can disease people and, attacks people, animals, and everything alike, and you don't go out at night. Well, this one family gets this, helps this other family move into their house, and everybody lives off the land. They live off the various, various resources they have, goats and stuff like that. And it seems like everything's in, good harmony, but it turns out pretty quickly that there's going to be tension between these families. And there was some pretty good stuff about this, like the father, Joel Edgerton. He was pretty good as well. Trying to keep everything sane, trying to keep a certain amount of rules to protect his family. Now, I will say this: it's not perfect. It is one of those isolated movies that it kind of reminds me of an extended Twilight Zone episode that isn't exactly. It can't exactly follow up on the great premise because eventually you need to see something. This does, however, go with the whole, idea that a monster or presence is scarier the less you see of it. If you just hear sounds or you just get, like little images and stuff like that, and you go more old school, it can be scarier. And something that you don't want to face, that you cannot battle, even if you do face it, can be very, very scary. And especially trying to grow, trying to survive in a world where an unseen presence is trying to kill you, disease you, and everything, and shows no mercy, is something else. From beginning to end, there's some pretty good imagery as well, with the grandfather dying of the family and then later the son dying. And there's some good acting in on this. I mean, it's not perfect. You can definitely tell that Trey Edward Schultz had the right tone that he set for this, with the isolation in the house and the mutiny that happened between the families and everything, because Paul was like, well, I brought you into my house, and now all of a sudden you guys aren't being totally straight with me. There's a lot of, good dialogue scenes. So while not perfect and a slow burn of a movie, it does have its moments and does get a recommendation. What doesn't get a recommendation is another outdoor movie called Sweetheart. It was directed by J.D. Dillard, who directed Slate, and it's from Universal Pictures and Blumhouse, because of course it fucking is. Kiersey Clemons plays Jen, and she was actually the best part of this movie. She ends up stranded, shipwrecked on an island, and finds a couple survivors later, but for the most part, it's her dealing just on her own. Just trying to survive and everything, not knowing where the hell she is. She's on this, completely isolated island, a beautiful island, but it hides a secret. People have been on that island before. People are no longer there because there are oceanic creatures coming from a hole in the ocean, bear with me here, that are attacking people. And that's pretty much it right there. That's pretty much your lot. There are a few decent violent scenes, and the build is fine, but boy, once they showed the freaking creatures, it was very apparent that the budget was like very, very small for this. And I'm not knocking. You make the budget, you stretch the budget as far as you can. You do what you can with the concept you have and with the resources that you possess. But it still wasn't that good. I mean, when I saw the creatures, I was too busy laughing. They were weird sharkish creatures and stuff like that, which made sense because they were mostly, aquatic. But not explaining the stuff is fine. But in this sense, it was people doing a lot of stupid things, and a lot of this movie was just like tell, don't show. And then once they finally did show, you're like, okay, yeah, probably should have just kept telling me, because it just couldn't back up what it had. This was kind of the opposite of It Comes at Night, where they just tease you with stuff. This one, when they eventually showed the creatures and just kind of did it in like weird dark scenes and did it to show, oh, it's like, oh, these are some scary creatures, but we can't show you too much, because when they did, you just couldn't help but laugh. Now, again, the girl did fine, and the other actors in it were fine. The two survivors that were there eventually, but yeah, there's a later scene where they try leaving in the raft that, the little inflated tent raft thing. And she ends up killing one of them eventually, trapping it in like a ring of fire. Johnny Cash was right. But she ends up kind of setting fire to the whole island. So you're like thinking, okay, this will get somebody from, a plane flying overhead and say, there's a fire. Maybe we should go, investigate that. But yeah, not explaining the stuff is fine, but when they showed the creatures, it just looked really goofy. And no, Sweetheart does not get a recommendation. It isn't the worst thing. I will say this much. It's not the worst thing, because that's going to come up here, with these next two movies. But for something that I heard as being a nice little, scary horror movie that doesn't show you too much, problem is, it wasn't really all that good. Now we move on to Deadcon. Directed by the director of Sisterhood of Night. And cast as virtual no names. I cannot recall much of anything that these cast members were in. You know what? You gotta start somewhere. Fine. This is what the movie essentially was. There was a guy designing a group chat program back in like the 80s. I think it was like 1984 or something like that. It was like one of those old, like, green screen computers, which was kind of a nice throwback and everything. But he had to shut this program down because the people were pulling his funding. Somebody named Bobby suddenly shows up and says, well, hey, I'll get you friends if you can help me out. And then the guy ends up possessed. And then we suddenly go to 2019 where we have, we by the way, this Bobby guy is essentially a demon. That's what he is. And we go, 2019, we have internet celebrities. Thank you, Snapchat and everything, where, yeah, it's a con for all these people and, like a Comic-Con, stuff like that. And people are dying stupidly. This movie was like 77 or 80 minutes and it felt like it took forever. And it felt like it felt like they cut out half the movie and then just stretched the rest of it. Because there were so many scenes where they're in a hotel, they're in this haunted hotel room that, the guy in the first scene died in. And every character is just fucking shit and terrible. It's like, hey, wait a second, all this shit's happening. This room almost looks like a throwback. The electricity keeps going out. There are these weird noises everywhere. And my room keeps getting trashed. Maybe I should just move to another hotel. No, can't do that. Why the fuck would you want to do that? Oh, and at one point, there was a party balloon that strangled a guy to death. I'm not fucking kidding. It was one of the worst movies that I've seen. Easily. I mean, at least in the last couple of years. Because it felt like something where they could have had more fun with it and they treated it too goddamn seriously. If they had made this found footage, because the very end of it was actually pseudo found footage. This guy was using his phone and everything to try to look for a girl that he had a thing for. And not just his thing for, but maybe so. And they did the found footage thing. And the sad thing is that this had been found footage, this probably would have worked better. But no, every character dies. Every character does stupid shit. And nobody cares. Like, literally, nobody cares about this. And what in the world was this? Who was this for? Because none of the acting was all that good. And again, people got to start somewhere. People got to do their thing. But this movie was barely even shovelware. It was like one of those where I guess the idea was kind of interesting, but it was just so, like, stretched out to, like, its very limit. With a lot of shit cut. Why was the ghost doing this stuff? Was he killed earlier? Why did girl get possessed and suddenly, want to lead kids down to something? Was it because this ghost liked kids? Was it because this ghost wanted kids to play with? Not explaining things is one thing, but this movie is just like, hey, we're just going to assume you know what the fuck's going on. None of it was scary either. Like any of the jump scares, any of the stuff in the long shots down the hallway, and the inability to ever turn on the lights. Good Lord. I don't know what the fuck this was for. So now we move on to House of the Witch. Alex Merkin directed it. And it was made for cable. You can tell because they had a TV 14 TVMA thing. And whoo boy. There was nothing good about this. It reminded me of The Haunting of Whaley House. And if anybody has heard me talk on Twitter, or even if I briefly mentioned it in reviews, I hated that movie. It's about a bunch of idiots who go into a clearly haunted house, they get locked in, and stupid shit happens, like they get injured or they get hurt. It was like the Truth or Dare, not Netflix original, but the Netflix version that came out like a year before the other one. That was complete shit, but at least that one had some visceral violence and had the girl that played Nova from Sharknado in it. This movie the actors did what they could. I'm not even going to knock the acting, though the characters made a lot of stupid decisions. But everybody gets trapped in this house where this witch is there. This witch essentially is trying to kill them via smoke machine. Because you don't really get to see much of her, and when you do, you're just too busy laughing. These special effects wouldn't have even passed for 1997. But again, resources, you do what you can with what you have. But good Lord, it's like, everybody just makes these dumb decisions. They're like, hey, we go to play these pranks here. This one friend of ours went ahead and, he's going to play pranks on us. Oh, wait, no, he got killed. And we don't even bother to call him because it's 2017, not 1997. You have more access to cell phones. You could have called the guy and, oh, they have no service because apparently witches can block cell service for some reason, or just, send, or, draw the energy from the phones and draw the energy from the satellites, apparently. But the witch wants to escape. She wants to get out and wants to wreak havoc. She ends up possessing one of the girls and leaves the house and stuff like that. And it's funny because you can tell when one of the girls looks exactly like the witch in the old photo. Gee, I wonder who's going to get possessed. And then also one cast member gets like infected with something. One cast member gets the shit beat out of them. Some cast members get injured. There's really nothing good about these movies, honestly, like these last two movies that I mentioned. The Nightingale was really good. It Comes at Night was pretty good. And Sweetheart had some good ideas, but didn't pull them off. Deadcon and House of the Witch were absolutely terrible. These are the quick reviews that I am doing. So anyway, do you agree, disagree with what I said? Like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Ritland. I'll see you soon.